check.
What up? All right. I was going to say, are we recording? But we're already recording.
We are recording. We are for sure recording. Do we need to slide this way?
No, I think we're good. I think we're okay.
All right. So what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. I think we need to introduce ourselves to the camera. Okay. Especially me, because nobody knows my face.
This is the ghost behind the camera that makes it all happen.
What's up?
This is Shane Jones. You want to introduce yourself?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I will introduce myself.
You're safe.
Yeah. So I'm Shane.
You're safe here.
I have known Kenneth for about 50 years now, something like that.
I worked a lot of overtime. I seen something the other day. It was like, how long have you been doing what you're doing? It's like 43 years. It's like, but you're 25.
You're 27.
I worked a lot of overtime. That's great. I was like, this is me. This is why these eyes look like this.
Life. This is my life. No, bro. I mean, yeah. So we connected a long time ago. I know I don't look like it. I know I look much younger than Kenneth. But I was actually Kenneth's youth pastor back in the day up in Saraland.
Oh, man.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, no.
What happened? Oh, there it is.
I'm sorry.
So so I have some really, I actually came across a picture of you the other day. I haven't told you this yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So do you remember the coffee night that we did in the youth group back in the day?
Where I played the guitar?
Yes.
I remember that. I think I had on like a Hollister shirt, and I was up there playing the 3 chords on the guitar that I knew. I don't know why you let me play.
I was just trying to encourage a young man, and I take a lot of credit for you sitting here today.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. It was that one night on the bar stool.
The one night on the bar stool, and I need to find. You know what I'm going to do when we drop this? I'm going to put that picture in the middle of the screen.
Y'all can see what I look like with hair.
So everybody.
We'll take a poll. Hair or no hair?
Have you seen the swoopy, like, early 2000s? I think they called it emo back then.
Right.
Right. It was great.
Yeah.
It was really
Everybody
great.
would be like, shake your hair.
That's right.
I'd shake it down, and it's like. Then now it looks like I got neck problems. It's not because of how I slept. It was because I was shaking my head.
Yeah.
My little boy Truett, he does that from time to time now. Like, he's just like.
Do you look at him and you're like
stop.
You're
just
me.
Stop it. Quit. Yes. He is the spitting image of me. He acts like me. He does stuff like me. And I'm like, for the love of God, take a detour somewhere. Before the age of 12, detour.
Do something different.
Yeah. He's just very. So last night, we were doing his homework and stuff. And I know this isn't part of it. But
No. Yeah, this is what
he
we're
was
doing.
like, hey, I was like, bud, your test grades, they weren't good. What happened? I said, are you having trouble paying attention? And he said, yeah, Dad, I am. And I was like, talk to me about it. Tell me how you feel. And he was like, I have very strong hearing senses. my hearing senses.
Like Spider-Man?
Right now.
Does he have wavy lines above his head?
Right now, I can hear the washing machine. I was like, bro, it's in the room behind us. Everybody hears
Literally everybody can hear that washing machine.
I was like, I understand. I had really strong hearing senses as a child. You probably inherited that from me.
Your kid's cool, man.
It's not ADD.
I like Truett.
We're not speaking.
So our idea was, let's kind of give you a little bit of like behind the pod, right?
Right.
So, Kenneth is always the podcast guy that's interviewing everybody else.
Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast.
Have you guys ever noticed that he has the podcast voice? Like, I've never told him this, but he has the podcast voice. He's if you hear Kenneth talk in normal life, it's just like this,
this.
But then as soon as the camera turns on, he's like, "Hi everybody, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast,
a place where we interview people that were made in Sims, make things in Sims, and helps us make Sims." I practiced that like 150 times. But the whole thing is like, the problem is like, I know we've had this conversation before, and it's like, when you talk to people, just have a conversation with them.
Right.
But sometimes I don't seem happy. I am. Like, on the inside, I'm joyful.
You're
I got
kind
the joy
of a jerk
of the Lord.
at times. That's
but
true.
But it's like my face sometimes. Like, if I'm not like podcast smile, it's like when they talk, I'm just like, oh God, this is going south. And then we have to do a bunch of edits,
Right.
And then
which is where I come in.
Yeah,
So that's what I do at the Made in Sims podcast. I do a lot of the media, behind the scenes, the edits.
If y'all ever see me looking over this direction,
right,
it's because he thought of a question that I can ask, and I'm trying to read.
That's right.
And it's like,
that's right.
Sims.
That's right.
So
Kenneth is fantastic at what he does. But there have definitely been some fun moments,
right,
over the
kind
course
of the time when I was like, I'm here to mediate for the state of the city. Mediate is not the right word.
Is the city mad at someone, or
Yeah,
you need to mediate the argument?
Man, and I'm like, does people know? People know. I didn't know, but people knew.
Right.
And what was bad is in the video that we dropped, it was like, so what are you here to do today? And I was like, I'm here to mediate for the city. And then, is there orange paint on the limbs? I'm here to mediate for the mayor. And then I get on stage. At any point, it would have been great if anybody would have said, hey, I don't think it's called mediation. Maybe you're going to MC the event. But I'm get on stage. I'm like,
no.
Hi
We're
guys,
gonna
I'm Kenneth
mediate.
Havens from the Made in Sims podcast, and I'm mediating for the mayor. And he said I did a good job and wants me to do it again.
Right.
I don't know if it's comical. I don't know if it's comical or if it was just maybe you feel sorry for me. I don't know. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed mediating.
It was cool, man.
That was my first time mediating for anybody. People could have been mad. You don't know if people were mad or not.
We don't know if they were mad.
In the city, there's politics.
That's right.
Somebody was
mad at somebody.
and I helped them.
You came in and you mediated.
I saved the day.
You were supposed to MC, but you mediated.
Right.
You mediated it, bro.
Mediate.
You mediated it.
My
like
wife
crazy.
cannot. So my wife's name's Kirsty.
Yes.
Got a beautiful family of 4. Not sure exactly why she chose me, but she did. Probably because I asked her a bunch.
We've been asking that question a long time.
Yeah, everybody knows.
How many times did you ask her to marry you?
I asked her to date me 4 times.
Nice.
But I think I spelled it wrong the first time I wrote it on the note, and she was like, negative.
How do you misspell date?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I think I added a Y at the end or something. I don't know. I was like, is it I-E? I-E. And what's the worst is helping my kids with homework.
Yeah.
It is so bad.
No, I'm done.
Truett
I can't do it.
last night told me, he was like, Dad, you remember you told me you can't even help me with phonics, but they're doing this weird stuff now.
Yeah.
They're writing U's over top of letters.
When did school change?
I'm like, what does it matter if it's
Have you
got a
seen
U?
math?
It's like, what's a brie?
Yeah.
Except for a person.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. We interviewed Bree.
We did. She did a really good job.
She
we
was
had
fantastic.
no video.
It
was before you started.
Yeah, that's
So it
right.
was
That's
before-
right.
You were editing
That's
the podcast.
Yeah.
But it was probably, I felt so good about it. I felt like I'd helped the world.
It was a fantastic
Figure out
podcast.
about,
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah. And then whenever I got done, I was like, so I have the audio.
Right.
But we have no video. I was walking around the camera and I pressed the button and something happened. She was like, you're just going to have to make this audio podcast because I can't take the energy to do that again. And I was like, I understand.
So then
can we take a picture?
So then we posted a picture.
Right.
And then let the audio play over the top of the picture. And everybody was like, hey, the
commented.
video's frozen.
I probably
The
had
video's
14 people text me, hey man, that podcast you dropped, the video's frozen. I'm like, well, it's good to know you watched it because you didn't like it, share it, subscribe or anything. That's always fun. People's like, I saw your podcast. I was like, I didn't see your like.
That's right. Boom. So can we just say this right now? If you like the podcast, can you actually click the button that says podcast? It actually really helps.
I don't want you to get carpal tunnel in your finger, but it's not that hard. It's just a little, I'm all right with a petty like.
Yeah,
you know what
right.
I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I like your podcast.
I like it. If you're going to tell me you saw it in public, please like it.
That's right. No doubt. Okay, so I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
All right, so we're doing kind of a behind the man. This thing keeps getting stuck on me. So we're doing kind of a behind the pod thing. So we want to find out some funny stories from the life of the podcast. So let me ask you this first and foremost, because you had this conversation a lot with the people that you interview. So tell our viewing audience, listening audience, why you decided to start the Made in Sims podcast in the first place.
So the reason why I started the podcast was to be able to, my statement is people do not do business with business.
Right.
Every business, unless it's a publicly traded company, there's a face behind it.
Thank you for that caveat.
Yeah, there's someone that owns it, and that's just like Yellowhammer with Jeff and Mo.
Sure.
When you're buying coffee from one of these trailers, you're buying it from their team and their culture.
Right.
Your son, possibly.
Both of my sons.
Both
of my sons. I feel like we're doing a plug for Yellowhammer right now.
Yeah. So he asked me why I didn't let him sponsor. Jeff, here's your opportunity.
Hey.
Today's podcast has been sponsored by Yellowhammer Coffee. Just write me a check, bro.
No pressure, Jeff. No pressure.
But when you buy coffee from them, you're buying coffee from people. Their family is impacted by the coffee that you buy.
Right.
They make a difference in the community. the company didn't make a difference. The people behind the company made the difference. So my thought process was, a lot of people have asked me, do you do this as a hobby? And it's kind of like, God, is it that bad? You know, I'm horrible at softball, but I tried occasionally. But really, it's like, did I talk to you before today? And they were like, no, I've never met you before. And I was like, but you do now. When you need garbage service, you're gonna think of the guy. You're gonna think this guy that wastes his time doing these podcasts and his hobbies. That's right. But no, it's an opportunity to get to know the people on the other side of the mic, the people that run the businesses. And to build genuine relationships.
And the funny thing is you never know. It's like Forrest Gump. Mom always said life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
You never know.
You never know.
It's always so much fun. We've had a lot. I think 26 episodes.
It's been a good bit. I think I don't
know when we're gonna drop
30,
this.
I think,
but we've got some people. Some people have, when we've said, I'm going to be honest, before they got into the room, you don't know who you are.
That's right.
And
we're not saying any names.
Everybody's going to say it's them.
That's right.
But I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm just a little nervous.
That's right.
And those are the ones that was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Keep talking.
Yep.
I'm just going to sit up
We're just going to do this.
One of my, well, I ain't even going to say that, but you will never know what I was going to say. But it's been so much fun. I've enjoyed it. Sometimes, so I know some people think that it's a joke in a group message that I have. When we start buying companies or the company just grows, A1 McDuffie Sanitation, shameless plug.
That's right.
Whenever we start growing, I get super busy and I'm very hands-on.
Sure.
And so it's a lot of times it looks like the podcast just disappears. But there's this thing in this group message where they're like, waiting on this is like waiting on Kenneth to respond back to the text. And then they're like, I heard Kenneth was going to be a ghost for Halloween. And I was a ghost for Halloween one year. So I just threw the picture up in there. And they're like, oh my God, look at Skinny Kim before all the stress. And I'm like, oh, this is wonderful.
Hey, speaking of, Richardson Health would be a great thing for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to start that. I'm going to start that very soon.
If you're looking to lose weight, get off medication, or just be a healthier version of yourself, you need to check out Richardson Health. Hailing from right here in Sims, Alabama, Michael and Kimberly Richardson have lost a combined 110 pounds on their personal health journey and now use that knowledge and expertise to help others lose weight, hit their fitness goals, and achieve their optimal health. Over 250 people have already discovered what Richardson Health's individualized programs can do for them. Scan the QR code on your screen to take a quick and easy health assessment and let Michael and Kimberly help you achieve your own personal health goals while they celebrate your victories, big and small, along the way.
They looking at their story, they've done a lot of stuff to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you look at Michael,
right,
bro, that's me. The bigger version, the smaller one, the one that's on blood pressure medicine,
the before version.
I just hadn't I need a sleep apnea machine, but I haven't got one yet.
My wife will tell you that I do.
Yeah.
She kicks me out of the bed.
Right. So I just got.
But I love you, baby. I love you.
I recently got off a hunting trip. My father-in-law was like, hey, that snoring you were doing last night, either you're really overweight or your sinuses. Maybe we need some sinus medication. I was like, here's what you have to do. You just have to fall asleep first.
That's right. That's the goal.
The other person's going to snore too, but if you can just... Okay, so now we realize why my son has...
Right.
Enhanced... What did he say?
Enhanced hearing.
Yeah.
Enhanced hearing. Yeah, his Spidey
hearing
senses
are very strong.
Okay, so for me... there's been some really we've had some great episodes. I mean, the first episode was Brandon Van Hook, right? The mayor of Sims,
right?
So,
do you want me to tell that story?
Well, I was in the middle of wrong one again.
No, that was it.
Oh, that was it.
So once upon a time, I decided to start a podcast, and I asked the mayor of the city, to be the first person on the podcast.
So let me get this straight. Let me ask a couple of background questions here, so we can get a little bit of context for this.
Right,
Kenneth, have you ever done a podcast before?
Never done a podcast.
Did you know a lot about the equipment at that point, or had you just done a lot of Googling and?
I just went to, I think I went to Guitar Center, and I just bought a couple mics.
Sure, perfect. And so what you're telling me then, did you have anybody helping you at that time, or was it?
Not really.
So
I did. Now,
okay.
Here's a plug for Portal Insurance.
Okay,
my
here
buddy
we go.
Bradley Flowers.
We like Bradley.
Yeah, he's a public speaker at this
Nice.
point. And I'm just trying to get on his level. If you want to see what I'm trying to become, check out this link. We'll throw that in there.
Sure.
Bradley Flowers, he spoke at one of our Sims Chamber events.
Yeah, we actually did that as one of our podcasts.
And
yeah,
it's on our podcast.
Right.
And but I was on a podcast with him.
yeah.
And I think later, whenever I talked to him, he was like, man, it was just like a trial podcast.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. I thought you thought I was cool, but it's cool. No sweat. Don't worry about it. But with that, like, that was the only podcast experience.
Yeah.
And it was during COVID. COVID had really just started.
Right.
So we met at a studio where they were supposed to have all this equipment.
Right.
And he was like, man, due to COVID, like, you want to do it at the back of your tailgate? And I was like,
okay.
Yeah, cool.
Right.
Yeah, in the parking lot? He was like, yep. So cameraman was over there. He had the mic. We sit on the tailgate, just like we were in Sims.
And here we go.
That was it.
So you were made in Sims.
I'm made in Sims on the first podcast.
So you went and so you decided that your first podcast
was going
to be interviewing the mayor of the city. You didn't start low. Like, if we're going to go, we're going to go hard.
Well, so that's been one thing in my life. Like, if I'm going hard, I'm going hard in the paint.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's right.
Like, we're going for the top.
I get it, bro.
So before, like, when I text Brandon Van Hook,
right.
I also text Jake Peavy. And I'm like, get the mayor and the Major League Baseball star.
Right.
And I think
get some street cred, man.
Yeah.
Some street
I'm
cred.
like, people want to watch
That's
the,
right.
the
That's
big
right.
guy upstairs. So I was like, hey, so I started with the mayor.
Wait. Did you say people want to watch the big guy upstairs?
Yeah, like
they
God,
want to watch God? Is that what you're... Okay, so back to what we were saying.
So once upon a time, I started a podcast, and I was like, hey, Brandon, do you want to be on my Made in Sims podcast? Because it's for the city.
Did you have a relationship with Brandon
Yeah,
before?
I did.
Okay,
Yes, I
good,
knew him from the Hickory
good.
Pit. And
Did you have a relationship with Jake Peavy beforehand?
Did not have any relationships.
Perfect.
Now, I knew somebody. I had one shot. My kid caught the flu, and then we never rescheduled the podcast.
Got it.
Everybody go and tag Jake Peavy in this.
Yeah.
But so
Jake, if you're watching, we're still waiting for that reschedule.
Now, he did one with Bradley, but Bradley's on another level. You know what I mean? Bradley's cooler than me. He sells insurance. Insurance is cooler than garbage.
That's true.
I don't know about roll-off company, though. We do have a new roll-off company.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
That's right. That is pretty cool.
Armor Environmental. So I get there, and I'm like, okay, Brandon, I was really nervous. I was a little skinnier.
Because back then, we didn't do it at the studio.
Right.
You went on location.
So, like, I had my iPhone, and I set an iPhone up in a tripod.
Sure.
Then I had a mic, and I had the mics running into my laptop.
Right.
So it was supposed to pick up and run into GarageBand and record.
Right.
And I had done this research. I didn't do all the like. I'm the type person that watches a YouTube video. Like, it's a 18-minute video, and I watch like 2 minutes of it. And I'm like,
I'm done.
Right. So where's the part where they hook it? So they put it in that port. Okay, done. Record. GarageBand. Great. Done.
Got to watch the whole video.
There was some other stuff.
Got to watch the.
Watch this whole video.
That's right.
But so I sit down, and so it was the first podcast that the mayor had ever been on. And so I was like, Brandon, like, I appreciate you doing this, man.
Right.
He was like, look, this is the only thing I ask. If it's not good, please don't post it.
Right.
And so when we got finished, I pressed stop record, and I said, so we leave. I get in the parking lot. I was so excited to listen to the audio on my new mics, not these, some other ones that I took back, on my iPhone.
Right.
And I pressed I pressed play. I screwed up. I had a boom mic, so a Rode boom mic, and I plugged it up into my phone for a backup.
Of course, right.
Well, it was dead, and it didn't work.
That doesn't help.
My mic worked, but Brandon's mic did not work. And so afterwards, he said, man, I hope I wasn't sitting too far away from the mic. I'm just really worried that they're not going to be able to hear me. So I kind of pulled a, hey, you remember when I promised that I wouldn't post it if it wasn't good?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. I was like, man, you were a little far back from the mic. I don't think I've ever told him. So if he watches this, he'll find out. And I was like, you're a little, you need to eat the mic.
Right,
man.
right.
And he was like, I was like, I can post it and people think it's horrible.
Sure.
Or we can re-record.
Right.
So we shot it the second time. The second time, I just didn't use the boom mic.
Right.
But I still had the same mic set up.
Sure.
I had tested it out. Me and my son done a podcast. It was perfect. Well, somehow I did like that clicker that's on GarageBand.
Sure.
I somehow click the little button. So it was like a 10-second clicker.
Right.
So I press record. I'm watching our volumes go up and down, both mics. We're good to go. We're staring at the camera. We get finished. I go to turn it off and it starts recording. It clicks. And then it's like nothing. And I was like, oh no way. We're not doing this a third time. We just went with the audio. You ended up having to try to like edit the audio to make it sound better. It was just iPhone audio with the iPhone camera.
Yeah, I remember Kenneth came over to my house and he was like, hey, can you kind of, give me a crash course on editing? And so he was like, so the audio's not great. The mics didn't record on the mayor's podcast
for the second time.
It was a fun story, man.
Yeah. So we were talking about Bree a second ago. The video didn't work. The audio didn't work for the mayor.
The early days of the podcast, it was the Wild West of technology.
It was.
Just nothing ever.
We've advanced so far since then.
So far.
With technology. But I did get these cool mics. Joe Rogan, for the people that know who that is.
You know Joe Rogan?
Yeah. I know him and I know Jake Beebe. I actually have text messages.
Can I,
between me and Jake.
Listen. Can I tell you something right now before you get into the what you're about to say? Since this is behind the pod, what's happening right now? We're not taking this very seriously at all. We're having fun with this, right? Kind of give you a little behind the scenes. Yeah. What I'm about to do right now is take these headphones off and go make sure that camera's actually recording.
Okay, that's a good idea. Something happened here. I'm not playing.
Oh, perfect.
What in the world?
It says that our SD card has limited space remaining. So that's fun.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna see what happens. Hold on.
Ready, break. Is it still rolling?
It is still rolling. Okay, we're good on the camera.
I was about to say, no way. So we're not as advanced as what we thought we were at one point. We've had the battery die.
Yep.
We had the battery die because we didn't have the external mic plugged up. We've got orange spray paint on the lens.
That's right.
You're
in the middle of a podcast. This goes off and starts doing like the bounce around the screen thing. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well that's great. You can't edit that out. It's the screen behind you. So it's been a lot of fun, man.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who was the worst podcast? I'm just joking. I would never ask you. Totally joking. I do remember though.
So I could start a Patreon, and people have to pay to figure out who's the worst. Yeah,
that's perfect. I do remember for real us, and again, not saying any names or anything, but I remember the day that we were talking, and we were like, I'm not really sure how this next one's going to be. You just don't really know this person real well, and it turned out to be one of the best ones we've done, and that person was just such a great interview, and so it really is. You just never really know what's going to happen.
Got in the car immediately, called you, and said, "I don't think we're going to be able to use this footage." And you were like, "No, we can use it. I can edit it." And then you get it and shoot me a text, and you're like, "I don't know if we're going to be able to use this." We can do this one. Whenever you were like, so we've had a couple like that.
Yeah.
It's not who. If you're watching it, it's not you.
That's right.
We actually blocked them from the video, so they can't even see this.
They're not allowed to see this anymore. But no, there's been a couple like that. Man, it's so what you guys see is just the finished product. If you don't have any background in like video editing and post edit and all that kind of stuff, it does take time to make it all work. You know what I mean? It's a pretty long process. I would say probably a 20-minute podcast usually takes about 2 hours or so, 2.5, 3 hours to edit down and get all graphics in and all that kind of stuff. And
speaking of 2 hours, the intro for these podcasts.
Oh man, I was about to get there. These are great. We're going to cut some of these in over this. But yeah, tell us about the intros, Kenneth.
It is so difficult. So if we're having a conversation, like obviously this looks edited, I'm assuming, but it's at this point, it's not really been edited much. But it's like having a conversation. It's like, hey, the two hardest parts. So we changed the setup of it a little bit.
Right.
Originally what I would do is I would do my spiel, but it seemed like kind of stagey and I didn't really like it. Normally I'd say, hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast, place where we interview people that were made in Sims, make things in Sims, and helps us make Sims who it is today. I'm Kenneth Havens, your boy. Welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. And so what would end up happening is I was like, and today I'm here with Shane Jones. Shane, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I got used to doing that.
Right.
But we cut that out and we started doing the intro afterwards so we could kind of recap what we talked about.
Sure.
It is the hardest thing saying, I'm here with Shane. Shane, Shane, my boy. What's up, Shane? Like, I get really awkward and I just stare at the person and they're like, you're supposed to know what you're doing. And I'm like, but I don't. I'm just a garbage man with headphones, you know?
Look, there's so many times that
sometimes I feel like Ricky Bobby and I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I'm on fire.
Look, there's so many times, y'all, that we sit down, like we'll do the interview first so that when, when we do the introduction to the podcast, Kenneth can kind of, if he wants to say something about what the conversation was about, kind of as a tease, he can. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But what we'll do is after our guest leaves, we'll close the doors and record that intro. And there's a lot of times that before we start the video, before we start the recording, we'll just be like, okay, let's just kind of go through this, say this, whatever, blah, blah. And Kenneth's like, okay, let's go. And then I'll be like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Kenneth's
guys,
like,
welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. Today's podcast has been sponsored. Take control of your oil in your car. And it's like,
wait,
what did you do?
What is happening right now?
Have a stroke? It is so hard, man. It is so hard. And it shouldn't be. So we've talked about it. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes to shoot a 30 second
longer.
intro.
It takes longer to film the intro than it does to film the podcast.
So if we stop doing an intro and it's just random conversations, I just got wore out with it. I couldn't do it.
It's so funny.
It takes
great.
Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. Thanks for watching. I wanted to let you know we had the opportunity last month to sponsor the Sims Chamber of Commerce Luncheon. And with that, we were able to pick the speaker. And I got my buddy Bradley Flowers over at Portal Insurance, and which is also the host of the Made in Sims, which is not the host of the Made in Sims podcast. Hey guys, welcome to Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. Last month, we had the opportunity to sponsor the Sims.
What did I do?
All right, you ready? I feel like I got something. Oh, it's so weird. This is so weird. All right, you ready? All right, don't put that. Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. Today's podcast has been sponsored by Richardson Health. If you're looking to take control of your health, click on the QR code on the screen. They have been able to help so many people. What are we doing? Scanning it? We got to scan it. You got to scan it. Just keep going. We're not clicking. We're scanning. All right. One more time. This is the time. Right here. Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. I just had the opportunity to have a conversation with Gil from G&B Sportswear. I had no idea that we had so much in common, and we grew up in practically the same area. Oh, that's stupid. What a coincidence. Y'all both grew up in Sims. Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. I just had a conversation with Gil at G&B Sportswear, and it was really cool how much we had in common and how growing up in a family business created so much drive that we have today. I'm excited about this episode. Let's jump in. Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. We just got finished interviewing Nick. Okay, let me start over. I said, like Patrick SpongeBob. So save that for the end. And I can't wait to jump into this episode. So let's go. We're diving on it. Just keep swimming. Hey guys, welcome to the Made in Sims podcast. Today we had the opportunity to interview Brooklyn Rao with the Boys and Girls Club. She was recently awarded the Youth of the Year Award. I first met her at the Sims Chamber of Commerce luncheon. She spoke so well, I had to interview her. So today she dives in, talks a little bit more about her story. She's 16 years old. She's full of knowledge, and I can't wait to jump off into this. That's terrible.
That was good.
Why? I should wait and do all the intros another day. But tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved with this?
So what I did was, so like I said, Kenneth and I have known each other for a long time.
He was my youth pastor.
I was back in your, swoopy hair days.
Then I moved to Tuscaloosa and I was your youth pastor.
And then you moved to Tuscaloosa and you were my youth pastor.
Right.
And so it's kind of interesting how that works.
And now neither one of us.
And now neither one of us are pastors at all.
We gave up. He did work at Chick-fil-A one time though.
I did, yes. I did work at Chick-fil-A.
I think that gets you into heaven.
That's right. We always say that if the church is the house of God, then Chick-fil-A is the kitchen of God.
There you go. So the married supper of the lamb is going to be Chick-fil-A sandwich with pickles.
So Kenneth and I, like I said, we've known each other for a long time, and I've done a lot of video editing, post edits, that kind of stuff, video creation, and just throughout my career, especially in ministry and business and that kind of thing.
Some with sports,
kind of on the side, yeah. Sports. I worked with a podcast called the Gator Nation Football Podcast for the Florida Gators out of Gainesville for a long time, doing some editing for them as far as game film and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. So when it was funny because Kenneth came over to the house because he was like, "Hey, can you just kind of teach me how to edit a little bit?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Have you ever had one of those moments where it's like the thing that you know how to do is like second nature, but then you show someone else and it's like you realize how in depth it actually is?
Yeah, I'm sitting there like, okay, so I got the mayor's podcast. Can you edit just this one?
Right. So we spent that day probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours together.
I don't know how to edit. So.
Yeah.
I gave up.
And so he gets done, and then he calls me, and he's like, "Hey, can I just pay you to edit it? Because I don't want to do all that." I was like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." So one thing led to another. I was actually pastoring in Saraland at the time,
right?
And so God just kind of opened some doors for me to step out of that role and into this executive coaching role.
Right.
So it's a really cool thing that I've been able to step into, working with a lot of business leaders, ministry people, mortgage lenders, all this kind of stuff. And Chick-fil-A, work with a lot of Chick-fil-A owner operators. And shout out to Holly Johnson. She's fantastic. She is the operator at the Bel Air Mall.
Okay.
And so I actually coach her and her team.
Okay.
And so she's fantastic. You guys go check out Holly Johnson and her team over at Bel Air Mall. She's great. But anyway, so that opened up my time a lot. And so I knew you were looking for somebody to handle some digital media and that kind of thing for you.
Right.
So that's how it happened. And so
worked
now
it out. You've done some coaching for me.
I've done coaching for you,
and
some of your team and that kind of thing. Yeah, sure. It's been fun, man. It's been it's been an adventure, but it's picking up. It's picking up a lot. I've got I'm coaching people right now from California down to Fort Lauderdale, Virginia, Montgomery, Mobile.
It almost sounded like a patriotic song.
Yeah,
to the Gulf Stream waters.
That's true. That's how I look at it.
His
personally.
coaching was made for me and you. So speaking of his coaching, if you want to get in contact with Shane about coaching your team.
This wasn't even the plan, but man, I'm going to take advantage of it. Absolutely.
Do my Vanna White.
I appreciate that. For sure. If you want to, so I work with a coaching practice called Decision Coaching. We're based out of St. Louis. We are a preferred provider for the Chick-fil-A Corporation. So if we have, we have Chick-fil-A owner operators or leadership teams, people with their leadership development program, when they're looking for coaching, we're one of the coaching companies that Chick-fil-A recommends. Our founding coach, Kristen Gilo, has been doing executive coaching for over 17 years. But if you're interested, we don't just focus on Chick-fil-A. Right. We focus on a lot. Like I said, I do ministry leaders. I do mortgage lenders. Of course, we've worked with Kenneth and his team, garbage companies, right?
This is what I want to say. Just throwing this out there. I know it's like a shameless plug, whatever.
Sure. I'm checking our time on this real quick.
Our SD card is going to expire very soon. But what I want to say is, like, if you're thinking about coaching or you're like, I don't need a coach.
Right.
To me, one thing about coaching is you know that there's going to be somebody that's going to call you. Sometimes you need someone to listen.
That's right.
That's kind of unbiased. And then a lot of our conversation has been you listening to me and some of the stuff that we've had going on, and then you say, hey, did you set a deadline on that?
Right.
Did you do this? What about that? What about this?
Right.
And it makes me think of it in a different light. Sometimes you have tools, worksheets that you're able to send me to go through, and I'm like, hey, I think we're going to buy this company. And you're like,
it's like,
have you went through
let's
these
look through
steps?
these things real quick.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Like, it's been extremely helpful to me. And the value that you bring to the table is definitely worth definitely worth everything that goes into it on the other side.
Okay.
We're back from the fiasco.
So like we said, behind the pod, sometimes these things happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we were talking about coaching, and what I was about to say is that a lot of times when people don't really understand, they're not familiar with this thing's stuck on my head. When people don't really understand what executive coaching is,
right?
The question I get asked is, okay, well, what's the difference between like coaching and counseling or therapy? Which, let me just say, I'm a big proponent of counseling and therapy and those kind of things.
Right.
My background is counseling, psychology, and church ministries. That was what my college was all focused on. So I've done a lot of counseling in my day, and let me tell you, mental health is super important. So don't ever feel bad if you need to, seek out a counselor or a therapist or anything like that. Man, do what you got to do for your own health. But as far as the difference between the two, because you keep giving me this little half smile. I don't know what's happening right now.
Sometimes it's like, you think of things to say, and it's like,
and you're like, should I say that right now? I
probably shouldn't make a joke about sitting on the leather couch and you having to counsel me at this point. And it's like, golly, stop, don't do it.
If you couldn't tell, Kenneth was doing this.
Got that switch.
Okay, so anyway, I get asked like, what's the difference?
Right.
And I tell people all the time, a lot of times counseling and therapy happens on the back end of an issue, right? Okay. So something's happened in your life, your marriage, your business, your kids, personally, something's happened. Maybe there's been God forbid, a death in your family or in your immediate vicinity, something like that. And so counseling / therapy helps you manage, that situation in life. Right. So coaching happens on the front end, right? So we want coaching is what you do to hopefully have you better prepared when the unthinkable happens, or where we can head off those problems and they never happen. You know, so coaching, yes, it's about focusing on your business, making your business grow, helping you put things in place, create an identity around your business of not just setting goals, but creating the identity of what you want your business to be. But it has to be a holistic focus, right? So
your whole life,
you're not going to be a great business leader if you don't maximize who you are as a husband or wife, as a mother or father, personally, and so normally when I meet with a client for the first time, I go through some, rate yourself on how happy you are, 1 to 10 in the following areas, right? And one of the things that I always ask is physical fitness. And, I want them to just pop off a number just immediately. Right. And without fail, I would say probably 9 out of 10 clients, when I say, physical fitness, they're going to go, oh God, did you have to ask that? And it's usually the lowest one. And it's just, I don't know why it's funny to me, but every time. But the point is,
speaking of this, Richardson Health,
right.
They can help you reach your health goals.
That's right. So scan the QR code. So I remember back, so like Kenneth said, I worked at Chick-fil-A in Northport. Shout out to Ashley Gill and the Northport Chick-fil-A team.
That's right.
But I remember I was her general manager, and I was kind of going through this moment where our church that we had in Tuscaloosa, we had closed that down. It just hadn't worked out the way we had hoped it would.
Right.
And so I was general manager then, and I felt like, man, what am I supposed to do in the future? I'm trying to figure all that out. And so every time that Ashley and I would sit down and talk, she was great. She would always ask, how's things personally, how's things going, and I would always talk about, man, I'm just trying to figure out my future and what's going to be out there for me. And I'll never forget, one day she just kind of stopped and she looked at me. She said, Shane, you need to stop worrying so much about what's going to happen down the road. You need to focus on being the best dad you can be, the best parent, the best husband you can be, the best general manager you can be, the best friend you can be, and the best version of yourself you can be right now. Because if you keep your focus too far down the road, you're going to miss what's right in front of you right now. True. And it caught me off guard, and I was like, well, shoot. But that thing changed my mind. I'll talk to Ashley later, and she might remember this, but she told me, she was like, yeah, I walked away from that table, and I was like, oh, my God, did I just say that?
Did that just come out of my mouth? But, like, you need friends like that in your life. Yeah, and I know this is kind of like funny-ish, behind the scenes, whatever. Yeah. But as far as it goes, like, to me, like, one thing that was really cool about you in my life is I remember a conversation that we had a long time ago, like whenever I was struggling being called to ministry and do this, do vocational stuff, whatever. And a true friend cares more about your marriage than what they do about your ministry.
That's right. That's right.
And there's a lot of people that is pushing for you to be successful in this and that. But one of the things when you've done coaching sessions with me, I'm like, business is this and that and this and these numbers and that numbers and this profitability and blah, blah, blah. You're like, but how's your family?
Right.
And I'm like, I haven't seen my kids in 3 days. Horrible person.
Look, my dad told me a long time ago. He said, my dad was a pastor for years, and the statement he made was about ministry, because I was going into pastoral ministry at the time, but it really applies to business as a whole. And he told me, look, ministry is going to come and go, but your family should be forever.
Right.
And it's the same thing with business, man.
For sure.
If you don't keep your family as your priority, it's going to be rough, man. Look,
we can be homeless in a box, but as long as we're all together,
dude. I'll tell you right now, the secret for too long, quote unquote, secret to business is just work harder more often and work longer hours, work more. And the problem is that's just we're starting to understand as a culture that all we're doing is killing ourselves.
That's right.
And so what we've started realizing is that workaholism is the most rewarded problem in our society. We don't reward other issues like that. We don't reward alcoholism. We don't reward people that are addicted to drugs. But we reward people.
Yeah, work 28 hours straight, and you're the greatest.
Right, you get the greatest, but your family's falling apart.
Right.
And so for us, that's what coaching really is about.
Yeah.
And so our thinking is if counseling and therapy is the antidote, then coaching is the vaccine.
Okay,
right.
That makes sense.
So if you're interested, I mean, this is not what this was supposed to be about, but if you're interested, holler at us at Decision Coaching. You can email me at shane.decisioncoaching@gmail.com. You can also contact me text me at 205-529-8722. And you can visit our website at decisioncoaching.us. And it's pretty good. I would tell you to check us out on social media, but I don't have social media except for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
It is what
sometimes
it is.
I'm like an old guy that I just hate social media. So
I'm with you.
Okay, look. All right, a couple of questions, because we're actually about to film another podcast here in just a minute. So I'm going to shoot you a few questions. I want you to give me the quick answer. Okay. Are you? Kenneth has no idea that I'm going to do this. It's going to be great. Are you ready?
Physical activity like 2.
No, I'm not going to ask you that, but.
Because I haven't signed up yet for Richardson Health.
Right. We're going to do that for you.
We are.
Right. Okay. So here's question number 1. How long have you been married?
I have been married for 12 years.
How did you meet your wife?
At Lot Road Church of God.
Nice. Do you still go to church anywhere?
I do. Lot Road Church of God.
Nice. Okay. Perfect. Favorite football team?
Favorite football team, Alabama Roll Tide.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer. Try again. I'm just playing. Just go Gators.
Florida Gators.
Florida Gators. We're terrible this year, though. So
it's okay.
Yeah, okay.
We lost to Tennessee.
You did lose to Tennessee, and everybody that's not an Alabama fan was really happy about that. Okay, so let's see. Favorite football team. Favorite restaurant.
Favorite restaurant is probably Poor Babies on Airport.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody thinks I've never eaten there.
Everybody thinks it's just like a wine bar.
Right.
They have the best food in Mobile.
I'm going to have to try it out.
I told a couple of people, if you go and you don't like your food, I'll give you your money back.
Really?
It's that good.
Are you going to tell me that?
I don't know, because you might not tell me the truth.
Okay. Best steak you've ever had?
Best steak. It's really that. It's probably there.
Really?
It's that good.
What's your favorite cut of steak?
Probably, I like a ribeye. Big cowboy.
True answer.
Yeah.
True answer.
Yeah,
That's good.
bone in.
There is nothing better than a ribeye. A bone-in ribeye is where it's at.
Yeah, for
Fantastic.
sure. All that flavor.
All right. Favorite drink?
Vodka. I'm sure.
Okay. All right. This took a turn.
All right. From pastor to alcohol. I'm just kidding. No. Favorite
the Kenneth
drink
Haven
really
story.
is I love the way that Coke Zero tastes. I hate the way it makes me feel.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have a love-hate relationship.
Right.
Sweet tea, obviously, when I'm not trying to be on the Richardson Health.
Right. How do you like Southern sweet tea?
Yeah.
Or
the older I get, I feel like I'm turning into a fogey.
Yeah.
It's almost like give me 3/4 of that McDonald's syrup, and give me a little bit of that unsweet.
Right. So my mom grew up in New York, and so in my house we only had sweet tea if we had company coming over.
Okay.
So I grew up on unsweet tea. So I actually really like unsweet tea, which is actually healthier, I guess.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Because it's just brown water.
There's not like just 3 cups of sugar in there.
Right. Okay, how do you drink your coffee?
How do I drink my coffee? Very blonde.
Okay.
Very blondish.
like
so
cream with a
morning,
little bit of coffee in it.
Yeah, so I do 10-ounce cup.
Okay.
Of coffee on a Keurig in the morning.
Sure.
Dunkin' normally.
Got it.
And then what I do is I'm trying to cut back on the Splenda because I calculated how much Splenda I use a year, and it is ungodly.
It's
you
too
can
much.
fill up a
It's
dump
too much.
truck,
Right,
or a garbage truck,
truck.
But the whole thing is, I normally use
A1
about,
McDuffie sanitation.
A1 McDuffie, yeah, or it can go in a roll off.
That's right.
So
Armor Environmental.
Armor Environmental. But I normally use about 6 Splenda.
Yeah.
with a lot of cream.
Wow.
It's very sweet. I don't know.
I was waiting for you when I asked you how do you have your coffee, and I was waiting for you to say, any way Yellowhammer gives it to me.
Yeah.
Jeff, looking at you, buddy. Looking at you.
That'll be $15,000.
That's right. So okay, how do you take your coffee? Favorite kid. I'm just playing.
Almost answered that one. Both
Just
of them when they're at
joking.
school.
Just joking. All right. Okay, so let's see. Favorite location that you've lived in your life? Yep. See, this is what happens. This is what happens. We're just leaving it alone. That's right.
Favorite location I ever lived in my life? Probably Tuscaloosa, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best parts of our life.
Tuscaloosa was fun.
Yeah. So grew up Sims, loved Sims, Alabama.
Right.
Grew up in the area, Satsuma-ish.
Sure.
But when we moved to Tuscaloosa, we went. It just made us explore. It was a new area. I didn't know any.
Right.
We didn't really
know
anybody. And so we lived in Northport. But
yeah.
we randomly was adventurous and walked
Right.
down a stream. Found some rocks and we walked across. I don't know why.
Look, let me tell you one of my favorite Tuscaloosa stories.
Okay.
So we ended up living in the same apartment complex because we just were trying to get there, So we moved into this apartment complex, and so Kenneth had on his porch outside of his back door. He lived on the first floor. And so he had this little table, little chair,
nice little patio
and
set.
he'd go out there in the morning and read his Bible and drink his coffee and sit in the nice cool Tuscaloosa morning
Crisp
air. And one day he texts me. He texts me this picture, and it's him sitting there on like a cooler with his Bible on his knee and his cup of coffee. And
My peppermint coffee cup.
He said, "Bro, somebody stole my table and chair."
They literally took it.
Man, I laughed so hard. And then how about your upstairs neighbors in Tuscaloosa? You got to tell that story.
So we had these people that lived upstairs.
Yeah.
There's always memes about
the neighbors,
upstairs neighbors.
Right.
But so we also had another friend that works there.
Right.
And so he told us kind of what the maintenance guy found when he went in. And they had bounce houses directly above 2 of the rooms that we lived
second
in.
Floor.
And all of a sudden you would just hear just boom, 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 boom. And I was like, it's either a rap gang or there is something that a tribe relocated Indians that are rain
They're
dancing.
having a powwow above your living room.
It was that bad.
That's great.
It was
Man,
that
that's
bad.
funny.
We enjoyed living there, man.
It was fun. Yeah,
it was
Tuscaloosa was great.
probably the most simple life has ever been.
Sure.
We had less than what we ever had in our
Right,
life. When God called us up there, we sold our house,
Yeah,
the boat,
yeah.
the truck, the truck. It was very simple But it was we had each other in a 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot, 3 or 4 friends living at one apartment. Kind of was
it was like us against the world, bro.
Alabama version of Friends.
It was great.
It was really nice.
All right.
But
Please
I
don't sing.
enjoyed it,
Please
man.
don't sing. All right.
I'll play you
All
my
right.
3 chords on the guitar.
That's right. Okay, we got another podcast we got to record. So we need to wrap it up.
I think we should do this again.
I think so too, man. It was fun.
I don't know if anybody watched it, but I probably will.
I think it was fun.
You can edit it.
I'll go back and watch it.
There you go.
I'm going to cut out the part where I talked about coaching, and I'm going to post it everywhere. I'm just telling you right
Everywhere.
now, I'm going to use
It's
it.
going to be in the middle
That's
of
right.
every
It's going to be everything.
Every podcast.
Everything we do, it's going to be today's podcast sponsored by. And then you're going to text me, and you're going to be like, you didn't pay for that. It doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter.
Mention it if you want to sponsor the podcast.
There you go. If you want to sponsor the podcast, we
Reach
would
out to
love to have
Shane.
you sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
Just send an email to the email address on the screen here, and we'll send you all the information you need. We have different levels of sponsorship that you can do from, $100 up to $500, and so it really just depends on what you're interested in. So, but we can work it out. Yeah, if you say, man, I just want to do this crazy,
taking up
then
an offer.
we will put your name on everything, and we'll let you become the title sponsor for the Made in Sims podcast.
And the Lord will bless you.
Amen. Hallelujah. All right. Are you going to say the ending right now?
Guys, thank you so much for watching the podcast.
Stop it. Do it again. Do it again. Say it normal.
Well, how do I do it now? Hey guys.
Nope,
thank you.
that's awful.
What? How is it?
I don't know. I just keep messing with you.
Okay. All right, it's over. Ready? Break.
Boom.